There's somebody. There's Park. Now if I could just... Are you guys able to see me okay? And... And hear me, for that matter. Looks like I got sound. Yep, we got sound. At least it's registering with the camera. High Voltage Beaver is here. I've always wondered if that's, if that's like a wildlife reference or if that's, if you're just a dirty-minded dude. Yes, he says. Just yes. Just yes. Oh, bear with me here for, well, hopefully we'll get a few more people that'll come and hang out with us here for a little while, but I'm moving a little slow today because I was up till I think 6:30 this morning editing video, and so finally, I went to bed, and I had just laid down in bed, and all of a sudden my wife's alarm started going off because she had to get up and go to work today, so I didn't get to go to sleep right away. And so yeah, yeah, I'm moving a little slow, but I'm good. Oh, he says he's an electrician. Name is Beaver. Okay, cool. That makes sense. Let's see here. Jeff Seven, Michael D, Park Kingery, Dawn R is here. That's like 5 of you, and then it says 6 viewers. So there's somebody else that's watching from afar that has not announced themselves. Assuming that's accurate. Yeah. So, is this quarantine thing over yet? Anybody know? I know some places are starting to open up. My state's kind of sort of starting to open up. Some things are slowly starting to open up again. I don't know. I found out over this past week that, I've been working from home, my full-time job. I've been working from home since March. I don't know when they send us home, March 20 something. And I just found out this past week they're gonna make that permanent, which I kind of knew was gonna happen. So, but I'm good with that. I actually I thought I'd hate it, but I've come to enjoy working from home quite a bit. So, I'm actually able to be more productive in a number of different facets because now I can get up on my lunch hour and, work on some YouTube stuff and, yeah, or lay down on my own couch and take a nap and not, without anybody bothering me or, that kind of stuff. As opposed to, there's a lot, my office is 40 minutes away from here, and so, there's not really, even, once, you're there. So, I'm enjoying the freedom that working from home has given me. So, it allowed me to do a number of things. So, let's see what you guys are talking about. Park Kingery says, built a great bass boost pedal, worked out sweet. Interesting. I don't think I have ever, I've used plenty of boost pedals. I don't think I've ever used like a treble booster or a bass booster other than like an EQ pedal, and I can't recall any instances in my life where I set up an EQ pedal specifically for that purpose. So, I don't know, that's something I'd have to try out just to see what the hell it's all about. Pardon me. Chaotic One is here. Sean Zimmerman says he's lurking. Thought I saw somebody else poke their head up in here earlier, but maybe not. It's starting to get warmer outside, and it's, my part of the world anyway. It's currently going on 2 o'clock in the afternoon, so I imagine there's probably people, a lot of people out and about, which, who could blame them? If I didn't have, I still got a lot of editing I've got to do today. So if I didn't have all that stuff on my plate, I would probably be out doing some stuff too. I don't know if golf courses are open again or here in my area or not yet, but if they are, as soon as they are, I'm gonna go play me some golf. I need to go play me some golf. Pardon me. New Jersey starting to open up a little bit. Wow, that surprises me. New Jersey got hit hard. I mean, like the only place that got hit harder than New Jersey was New York. In which, basically, let's face it, those two states, large portion of them, pretty much the same market. I'm surprised. I'm glad here is opening up. I'm just surprised. Pardon me. Sorry for yawning, but I'm okay. Let's see. My friend's band's bass player plugged up, boosted volume, made it fuller. Interesting. Jeff 7, here would be Cincinnati. That's about 100 miles from me. I like Cincinnati. We used to, my wife and I used to drive over there. We used to drive over to Cincinnati, a few times a year. We like to go to IKEA and Bass Pro Shops, and a few years back, the GM at Guitar Center was, the guy that was the GM at the Guitar Center at that time was a good friend of mine. Mike's Music, hit all those places, but they've since built an IKEA here, and I've got a Cabela's 5 minutes down the road, literally 5 minutes around the corner from me. So we haven't really had much of a need to drive over to Cincinnati. We were there about a year or so ago, I guess. We went to the aquarium, which was a disappointment. We got through the entire aquarium. We got through that entire aquarium in about an hour and a half, which we were under the impression it was a lot bigger. So, but it was cool, and there was a lot of cool stuff there. So, Dwight Bailey, Mike St. Croix, Old Omen Road, RMG 471. Welcome to you all. Kobayath, I'm sure I fucked that up again. Sorry. RMG 471 says, Robert, any thoughts on the Mesa Fillmore 25? That's that new amp that they're coming out with. I haven't, honestly, I haven't really dove into it too much. David Hill from the Practical Guitarist podcast has been keeping his eye on that thing, I think, because he's a pretty big Mesa Boogie guy, and it's, I don't know that Mesa's ever put out a bad amplifier. If I'm being completely honest, I can't think of one single Mesa Boogie amplifier that sounds bad. So, Randall Smith's a genius. I can only imagine it's going to be a killer amp. Probably not going to be cheap. Probably going to be pricey like most of their other stuff. But you get what you pay for. Yeah, I despite having never owned Mesa Boogie, I actually always really liked Mesas. I've never owned one though, so maybe I'll pick up a Mark IV or a Mark V here one of these days. Let's see. Donar, Chicago's a mess too. I can imagine Chicago is still a mess. Hey, Park says he's coming to Indiana next week. Dwight Bailey's in Flowood, Mississippi. Kobayath says, where in Texas are you from, Robert? Houston, originally. The truth is I've actually lived in Indiana longer now than than I lived in Texas when I was growing up as a kid. Uh, but that was always, that's all my football and baseball in the street in the neighborhood. All those childhood memories are all in Houston. So, I've always, like I say, even though I've lived in Indiana longer now than I lived in Houston, I've always still been a native Texan. So it's been a long time though since I've been back to visit, and I need to get back there. I still keep in touch with my two best buddies in the neighborhood. Um, I grew up with around the corner. Marcus, he and I are the same age. Are the same age. He and I have been. He's been my best friend in the world since we were 5 years old. So, we're still real tight. And then, my other buddy Trey who's also, a musician, a hell of a guitar player. Matter of fact, he and I were just talking last night. So, very fortunate to be able to maintain friendships that long. Uh, Old Omen Road says, "You seem like an IKEA guy." I like IKEA, man. Matter of fact, this room that I'm in here. I mean, this is the loft in my house, and I've got this little corner of it set up as my recording studio desk, and I got my desk here. Of course, there's a bass hanging on the wall there next to me, and I got a couple of IKEA shelves actually right above me that's got some pedals and stuff on it. But beyond that, like everything over there, that's like that's my living room space. It's my TV, my PlayStation, my couch. That's where I watch football. That's where I watch Raw every week. That stuff. But honestly, it's I'm actually in the middle of trying to sell the furniture that's in here. Um, I've had lots of buyers. I just don't want anybody coming to my house to pick it up right now with the COVID stuff. So, but I'm getting ready to refurnish it, and I'm not buying IKEA furniture for that. At least not a couch. But I am going to get like some IKEA bookshelves and see if I can do something with that monstrosity. Actually, I want to get rid of that monstrosity altogether, and I'll box all those books up and stuff and stick in storage. And that corner I think is going to become a Mortal Kombat arcade. Is what's going to live there one of these days. Uh, but there are some like bookshelves and stuff that I've been up there to look at them several times. I just haven't gone and bought them here yet. But IKEA will have a fairly large role in remodeling my loft here in the coming months. So I've had good luck with their stuff. So let's see. What's up, Doc? Says, hey, what's up? Dawn R says, all this distancing creeps me out. Can't get used to wearing a mask. I really feel. Uh, yeah, I mean that's taking some getting used to. I'm not, I'm not real big on the mask wearing thing either. I wear it, but on a rare occasion that I do go out, fortunately I don't have to leave the house too much right now. But Don R says, "What do you think of the Mesa Boogie throttle box pedal?" Uh, I've never played one myself, but I've heard it a few times. It's a killer distortion. What I basically a dual rack in a box. Or in that. Maybe not a dual rack in a box, but it's in that. It's definitely in that neighborhood, that high gain neighborhood. And one thing Mesa Boogie does real well is make real, tight sounding, deep, heavy distortions. So, like I said, I don't own one, but I mean that would definitely make a real nice addition to my high gain distortion pedal collection, of which is growing rapidly. Hey, Park Kinger says my Spark amp is finally shipped. He's been waiting on that damn thing for like 2 months now. Cool, man. I hope you like it when you get it. You guys are talking amongst yourselves. Mick, I'm going to see if I can pronounce his name right. Mick Caldwell, A-M-I-C-K. Says, hey brother, sorry if someone already asked or you made a video and I missed it. I'm new here. What do you think of the Joyo Bantamp? You know what? Stay tuned. Matter of fact, because I don't have the whole line coming, but they are sending me one, and I am going to demo it here soon. Very, very soon. So it'd probably be, depending on, it might be a month or two before you see that video, because I've actually got a lot of stuff here on my plate to demo right now that I got to get done, and you know, there's even still a couple of things that I know that are being sent to me that haven't been sent yet, including one of the Joyo Bantamp models, so, or Bantamp head models. So it's going to it'll be a month or two, but I will have an opinion to share with you before too long. They seem pretty cool though. Chaotic One says, I'll take a chair. Robert says, no you won't, I just bought it. I mean, literally, I just did a video on it like a month ago, you know, because it just arrived. So I'm barely just now broken it in. Michael D says, girlfriend and I are looking for a new section for the living room. We remolded, I'm assuming that's me, remodeled the house back in January, and still got to find a new couch. I don't know if you have an Ashley Furniture in your neighborhood, but they've got a really, really nice couch that was really affordable. Is the one that I decided on. I can't recall the model name though, what it's called. Let's see. GDK Opinionator says, first time attendee. Welcome to you. I've known to share an opinion or two on this channel. Parkingers says, I have to wear a mask all day at work. It sucks. Yeah, I'm actually pretty fortunate that we're not going back into the office and or the retail stores, because you know they're taking every precaution possible as far as reopening, which is good. I'm glad they are, but there's going to be a lot of things they're going to have to get used to. It'd be nice I don't have to worry too much about that. It'll affect me a little bit, but not much. GDK Opinionator says, I live in New York City. Mask wearing pretty much required here, mainly to keep from expelling droplets on other people. Yes. Yeah. All this talk about if you're, you know, realistically, you know, if any of us are complaining about wearing a mask out there right now, I mean, there are very good reasons why. All the experts want us to do so. So, Joe Hervey 84 is here. Kobe God says, does Joyo tell you what they have in development? No. Nope. No, they don't. I mean, you know, in most of the interaction that I have with, you know, with various different manufacturers, you know, I generally tend to keep most of that stuff to myself, you know, as far as what's being planned and what's being said to me and that kind of stuff. You know, for the most part, I keep that stuff to myself, because, you know, well, you know, number one, it's, you know, it's not stuff that needs to be broadcasted, and not that there's anything to hide, but, you know, it's just common courtesy. And, you know, number two, I mean, I even though I just told you guys about the Bandcamp that I'm doing here, that I'm going to demo here coming up soon, you know, I like to keep that stuff under wraps, and you know, so that you guys are, you know, surprised when, you know, when the video goes live on Sunday or Wednesday. And you know, then that way you can make up your own mind as to, you know, the, you know, being, you know, working yourself up, getting all excited with the anticipation for the next Robert's Guitar Dungeon video, you know, to be either really excited to see it's a demo of something that you're interested in, or really bummed out to see it's a demo of something that you maybe don't give a shit about. So, speaking of which, while I'm thinking about it, you know, how would you, this is something that that I did discuss with them, that that I am going to share. You know, how would you guys like if I can get a hold of a 10% discount on Joyo products? You know, if there is any, if there's any particular Joyo products that anybody's interested in, you know, I am thinking about running a promotion with them on my channel for, you know, roughly, you know, I don't know what exactly the discount's going to be, but you know, it'll be at least a few bucks off. So if you're looking for a couple of Joyo pedals or a Bandit or something like that, let me know if that is something that you guys would be interested in and like to take advantage of. The thing, I don't want to run, you know, run a promotion like that and have the video tank, you know, and, you know, because a lot, it's getting to the point now I'm doing pedal demos really more for my own enjoyment than anybody else's. You know, there's a few of you that seem to watch them, and there's some of you guys that, you know, which I'm very grateful for, by the way, that watch every video that I put up. And, you know, comment and get involved and all that kind of stuff, and that's fantastic. And I'm certainly not complaining about any of that. You know, that's why we do this. But, you know, on the whole, you know, you know, the internet or YouTube, or, you know, maybe it's even my own audience, you guys seem to kind of be losing interest in pedal demos. So, you know, I don't want to promote a big promotion and then have the response not be what, you know, what I'm telling them it's going to be. So, so something to think about. You can either drop it in the chat here, or, you know, send it, you know, comment on a video somewhere. You know, matter of fact, if you want, you can comment on the Joyo Wild Boost video that posted here just a few days ago. That'd be a good place for it, actually. Let's see. Oop. I hate it when this thing does that. I'll use a little wheel on my mouse to scroll down, you know, as I'm kind of filtering through the chat. And if I get too far along, if you've asked a question or something and I missed it, you know, just drop it in the chat again, and you know, I'll get to it. Let's see, we're almost got 30 people in here now. Wow. But anyway, as I'm, you know, sometimes if I let it sit long enough, and then I scroll down with the wheel on my mouse, I'll just scroll down once, and it automatically jumps all the way down to the bottom, so that I got to scroll back up, find my place where I was before, and start over. I don't know why it does that, but it does that, and you know, it is kind of annoying from time to time. Mick Caldwell says I'm getting the Atomic one. Yeah, that's that. They've got the Bandamp line is actually pretty cool, you know. And if you look at, I don't want to talk about that. I'll talk about that in the video that I do. But they've got the Atomic. They have the Jackman, the Zombie. The Jackman and the Zombie are probably the two that I'm the most interested in. Then there's the, what's it, the Blue Jay or something like that is what they call it, or Blue Jay. You know, it's like a blues jazz. I'm not sure what amp that one's supposed to model. I mean, that one's almost all clean. And I think they came out with a limited edition of a Jackman 2. It's like a 2-channel something or other. And what's the other one? Meteor. I have the Meteor. I think that's all of them. There might be one more in there. Yeah, they're all pretty cool. All pretty cool. Getting a lot of good press and good reviews, and people in the know saying good things about them. Let's see. Dawn R says, I would love it if you composed a metal song complete. Love your play style, and you got a great voice for metal. I actually can't sing a lick. I've got, my some of the stuff that I've done for demo videos, there's been some of them that I forgot all about them as soon as they were over, just because I was just trying to get something out to demo whatever piece of gear it was and getting it behind me. And there's a lot of those songs I've recorded that that I'm just I'll go back and I go back and listen to this stuff quite a bit, believe it or not. And there's some of them that I ask myself what in the hell I was thinking, because I think it sounds terrible. And then there's some other things in there that say, that would be a lot better if I wouldn't, if I did this, or if I changed this riff and did that, and I kind of put those in my back pocket. And so sometimes you'll see some of those songs that'll get recycled, kind of, sort of, but not really, but kind of, sort of. And then there's a few of them that I've done that I actually really, really like, and want to expand out and complete them into full tracks. Probably be all instrumental tracks if I do it, but yeah, I'm really wanting to take some of that stuff, and if I can find the time, take some of that material and kind of expand out on it a little bit to make actual full tracks and full songs and stuff, and then produce what would really be my first album. So among other, a few other even wackier ideas that I've got kicking around in my own head that I don't, no, I'm not gonna let those out, because they're, some of those ideas are a lot less realistic than others, but you don't know. But hopefully, not all that, but all that music that I enjoy anyway will be made public one of these days. So I'm hoping to be able to do that this year, but I've been saying that for months now, and now we're into May, and I've gotten caught up. I've been working. I've had a couple of really, really difficult demo videos that I've been working on for a particular company, and I just finally finished recording them here just in the last couple of days. So now I got to get them edited and sent in. And if these are the final takes and they take, I can put that behind me, and then hopefully not have to worry about that eating up any more of my time. But it might be able to free up a little bit of time for me to work on some of my personal stuff. Joe Hervey 84 says, can I take over as the troll for 2020? I'll be mean, I promise. It's up to you, man. Just keep in mind, I'm the guy with the block button on this channel. So and I'm not shy about using it. I don't, I just blocked a dude the other day that that had been a subscriber of my channel for a while, and he was, seemed like a pretty cool guy, from the interaction I had with him over the last couple of months, and then he just opened up and said some things to me the other day that were just not only uncalled for, but just being a complete dick. So he got shown the door. Mr. Tudor 007 says, hey Robert, looking trimmer, are you working out? Actually no. Believe it or not, at least not like I should be. I keep meaning to um, get more active on my, on my elliptical. But I like I just I get distracted, and times that I should be spending to exercise like right now, and because I mean, usually I get I'm not a gym rat or anything by any means, but I do play a lot of golf, and I do like to go and actually I'll walk 18 holes uh, if I have time to do it, but I haven't been able to do that lately, and it's the weather's been fine for that, but golf courses haven't been open. Pardon me. Tall Think Ev. Tall Thinkiv. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but it says, if I may ask, when would a Boss AC2 be placed on? Sounds like where you're asking where you should put your Boss AC2, which is I believe is the acoustic simulator. The original version, the AC3 is the model that's out now. Ooh, where would that go? Technically, that would be a drive pedal, believe it or not. Because it's not adding distortion, but it's changing the overall characteristic of the tone. So like a drive or an EQ, I guess it could be classified as well. So if it were me, I would probably I'm assuming that you're using it to get an acoustic sound out of your electric guitar, without having to change guitars. That's why most people would buy that pedal. So I mean, experiment with it, but you might try it like after all your overdrives and distortions and stuff. You're not going to be running any of those at the same time anyway, or at least highly unlikely, I would think. So try it before, try it after, depending on if there's if any of those pedals have buffers, and you might also try it in the effects loop. To be honest, effects loop actually might be the way to go with that pedal. I don't know. I've never owned one of those, so. Joe Hurry says, no one wants to be near me. I tend to not want to be, but okay. God damn, I did it again. Oh, where did it go? It just did the whole jumpy thing on me. Wow, you guys are busy. Either that or I've been talking too much and not paying attention to what you guys are talking about in here. Let's see. GDK Opinionator says, have you discussed Tone Master Fenders? I'm thinking of going with the Tone Master Reverb and HX Effect for my living room setup. Yes, actually, I just somebody actually mentioned somebody asked that question not too long ago, and I did an Ask RGD video on those amps, and without going into repeating everything that I said in that video, I'll let you look it up and see my full rundown. I mean, I didn't demo them or anything, but offered quite a few thoughts. I think they're pretty cool ideas. Essentially, what Fender's doing is testing the market on them. It's a digital modeling amp, it just models one amp instead of 100 or whatever it is. So, pardon me. Yeah, they're cool. Actually, Jim Woodard from the Practical Guitar podcast just picked up I think he got the twin reverb. I think the twin reverb one was the one that he got. And he loves it. He said tone-wise it's spot on, and it's a whole lot lighter than lugging around an actual twin reverb. So, because twin reverbs are heavy. Chris Schulte says, what do you think of the Fender Special Custom Telecaster, FNTHH? Yeah, cool guitars. Definitely a lot different from what Fender usually makes. You know, that was part of the inspiration behind that FMT line. You know, depending on what era you got in, like the ones that I think were there back in the 90s, maybe the early 2000s, the ones that were Korean-made. Yeah, those are, you know, they were cool guitars. You know, I'm kind of hot and cold about Tellys. You know, I mean, I like the Strat models better, but you know, but in the instance of those guitars, I mean, sound-wise, wasn't too much different. You know, they both had about the same electronics in them and everything, same tone woods. It wasn't a huge tonal difference like there is between a regular Strat and a regular Telly. Gargoyle 84 says, any tips on setting up a Floyd Rose? Yes, two. Practice and patience. It took me a long time, and I mean a long time, to learn how to set up a Floyd on my own. And you know, you guys have heard me talk about Tony Ramsey. Tony was even, you know, he was actually, you know, a guest on my channel here recently with a demo that he and I did together. You know, Tony, you know, whenever I need my guitars worked on, Tony's the only guy that I'll let touch them. And, you know, he's been working on guitars for 30 years almost. So, but, you know, honestly, you know, he's the guy that, you know, I had read up on him and I watched videos and I just couldn't wrap my brain. It just, something just wasn't clicking. And, you know, and I sat there and I watched Tony set up, you know, set up one or two of mine, you know, as well as several others for, you know, several other people. And, you know, finally he showed me exactly what he was doing, you know, and Tony has this thing about, you know, Tony can explain something to you, know, because the guy's brilliant. He knows like everything. Especially if it has wires in it. So, you know, but he has this knack for, you know, being able to explain, you know, a highly technical idea of some kind in a manner that, in like layman's terms, that, you know, that I can understand. And, you know, and I watched Tony do it enough times, and finally it just clicked. And I came home and tried to set up one of my own right after that, and then finally I was able to figure it out. And I haven't had to pay anybody to do it since. So, but in the meantime, nothing wrong with paying somebody to do it. My advice is, you know, keep trying it on your own. Practice and patience, and, you know, when you do take it into a shop and pay somebody to do it, stand on the other side of the counter watching. Best advice I can give you, and ask some questions. So. Let's see. Old Omen Road says, I need a Moore preamp live. That thing's cool. There's, if you're talking about like those little bitty mini-sized Moore preamp pedals that they came out with to, where's my radar? I got a Moore radar around here somewhere, and they came out, you know, which is an IR, basically an IR loader. And, you know, they came out with a series of like little mini-sized pedal preamps to go along with that, and those do seem to be pretty cool, you know, especially for the price. I thought about checking a couple of them out. Pardon me. I don't use the radar as often as I thought I would, but you know, just because I got hooked on wall sound and, you know, and the two-note stuff. Honestly, the video that I just finished up last night, I actually used the cab sim and the two-notes captor, and that thing's killer. I don't know why I don't use it more often than I do. I'll probably start using it more often than I have been. Dorothy Collins says, hello from Monroe, Louisiana. Everything's still fine and all of us ain't sick yet. Good. Glad to hear it sounds like everybody's still healthy and well. Ronnie Webster is here. Says, hey Robert, how are you? I'm doing good. Doing okay. Patrick Emery is here. Good morning. Using FETs in the power section, hunky-dory. Dorothy Collins says, I just bought a new Epiphone Standard 60 series. Les Paul and it's fabulous. Those new Epiphone, like the Inspired by Gibson line, seem to be pretty well made. A lot of people seem to be pretty happy with them so far. Hey, Stay Metal Ray has joined the soiree. Says, hey big man, hope you're doing well. Thank you, sir. Hope you're doing well as well. Staying safe and staying healthy and all that stuff. Says you should totally release some original music, and I'm trying. I am definitely trying. So, you know, I'm trying. So unfortunately, I don't have the energy to get up at 2 o'clock in the morning and and get to it every day like you do. So you got that military discipline that I will. 2 o'clock, that's for going to bed, not getting up. Yes, and by the way, Ray just released his. I don't know if that's your first single or not, but he just released a new track, and it is pretty killer. So everybody, go to Stay Metal Ray's channel and check out. I think it's probably going to be the latest video on there. So I know he's been working real hard on that for a long time. Jeff Evans says, bought my first amp at Arthur's Music in Broad Ripple. They're long gone. Do they still have a store in Fountain Square? Yes, they do. They are still in Fountain Square. Believe it or not, even though my guitar teacher that I took lessons from, I actually took lessons for. He taught part-time at a shop here, another store that's been around for a long time called IRC. That's where I took lessons from him from. But his full-time gig at that time anyway was at Arthur's Music. Believe it or not, I've actually never set foot into Arthur's. It's clear across town from me, and I've never gone down there. I probably should one of these days, but yes, the one in Fountain Square is still down there, and as far as I know, anyway. Mr. J says, hello, RG. Hello, Mr. J. Let's see. How far along am I getting caught up? Give me a minute here, guys. I'm trying to get caught back up in the chat. Patrick Emery says sometimes there is no reasoning with people. True. I don't know what that's referring to. But no, it's probably talking about the face mask things we were talking about earlier. Cobra says, anything ever happened with the riff you came up with for the Gear I Hate video? That's actually one of the ones that's in my back pocket. I did actually use that riff. Was it that? No, that was a different one. That's a different one I'm thinking of. But no, the Gear I Hate video, the track that I recorded in that one. I did another video a few weeks later after that. Called, basically played the exact same track with, gear that I actually enjoy, and played both versions in that same video so you could hear them back, like, similar to, or not similar to, but, so you can hear the difference between, stuff that I hate and stuff that I like, playing the same thing, so. Yeah, I learned a thing or two from doing that video. Don R says, in metal, vocals with plain roaring and growling, the words is accepted, so you should give it a try. I can growl too. I can't, no. Number one, I can't, I don't have the strength in my vocal cord to try it. Number two, I can't, I can't get into the screamo, growlo stuff. So, very, very little. I mean, like Pantera and Slipknot, and there's a couple of others out there that I think, a couple other bands I think have it down to a science, but you start getting into like the earlier, what's it called? Like Lamb of God stuff, where it's just, it's growling and not one discernible syllable coming out of, coming from the other end. I get it's a thing, I get it's popular, but it ain't for me. Plus I've also got several decades worth of, smoking cigarettes, damage to my lungs that probably makes it a lot harder on me. I don't smoke cigarettes anymore, but I do still use an e-cig, even though I'm trying to put that down. Kind of, sort of. Decky69 says, do keto like Glenn Fricker. I have, I've done that actually a few times in my life. There's one time about, God, when was that? 2007, 2006, 2007, something like that. I was, at that time I was about 260 or so, and I quit eating carbs altogether, and about 6 months, almost no carbs, and changed a lot of my eating, just pretty much every single one of my eating habits, and I got all the way down to 175 in 6 months, and that was probably a little too much, too quick, and of course, not all of it, but some of it ended up coming back. So those, I've learned, the hard way, not the hard way, but I have learned, a lot of times those crash diets, they work to a degree, but they get it off quick, but keeping it off is sometimes difficult because your body, metabolism and stuff don't necessarily keep up at the rate, the same rate that you're shedding all those pounds. So, but I'm not an expert either, so. Mr. J says, do you think concerts will still allow mosh pits when shows come back? I don't, you got to get shows to come back first, as far as, whether or not venues allow mosh pits, that all depends on the venue, I live right down the road from, our area's, big outdoor venue, amphitheater, where all the national acts come through, and they don't allow, back in the 90s it was, it was kind of, especially like when, Pantera or somebody like that would come through. They, security, there was nothing they could do to contain it. But now they're a lot, they've gotten real strict about it. There's, I've been to plenty of shows out there, clips, and I haven't seen, or what are they, Ruoff Home Mortgage Music Center, whatever it is they're calling it now. I haven't seen a mosh pit break out in a long, long time. There's too many fights breaking out because of it. Too many people getting hurt. So, but like I said, that all depends on the venue, I suppose, and the area that you're in. Kobe out says, ever have a turn with LR bags, pedals, and DIs? Yeah, we sold quite a few of them when I was at the store. LR bags makes great stuff. They really do. They really do. I mean, they're Fishman's primary competitor for a reason. I mean, they're starting to get their put their pickups and stuff in Gibson acoustics. So Gibson's using a lot of LR bags models right now, a lot more than they used to. So plus they've LR bags has been they've been going Breedlove acoustics for a while now, and among others. Yeah, no, they're killers. They make killer stuff. Their pedals and DIs are designed just as well as their guitar pickups are. So I don't have I don't really mess too much with acoustic gear. I mean, I own a couple of acoustics that are I pull them down and strum on them when I need to, but um, that's about the extent of my acoustic gear. mm. Patrick Emery says everything is pretty much back to normal here in Alabama. That's good to hear, because yeah, that's good to hear. Honestly, I kind of expected Alabama, because I think Mississippi's they're struggling. So my understanding anyway. Mm. Ronnie Webster says, do you have any experience or opinions on Agile guitars? Yes, and honestly, I think most of them are pretty nice guitars. Mm. They are good coffee. That is coffee that my wife and I brought back with us the last trip that we made. Our last trip to Mexico. We brought the coffee back with us. Good stuff. Yeah, Agile guitars, killer guitars, dude. They're like Les Pauls. Their Les Paul models are priced like Epiphones, and they're built like Gibsons, to be honest. Uh, yeah, no, they're one of those guitar brands that's they're a Chinese company, I think, but they figured out how to make really nice guitars, for a very affordable price. They're like the Harley Bentons and like the vintage brand guitars, and there's SX guitars. There's several of them out there nowadays, but yeah, Agiles are awesome, man. I at one time they used to have a custom. Like you could design your own guitar on their website, and then they build it for you. So you get like custom made guitar for somewhere between like $700-800, $1,000 or something like that. But I haven't checked on it in a while. But the last time I did go to look for it, that they had taken that down, and it was pretty much the shop that we have listed. So yeah, no, I like Agile guitars. Matter of fact, I'd like to have one of their Les Paul models. So I think they've got one. They've got a few of them I really like. Jack Rosas is here. Hello, Jack. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Check out the Mitchell guitars. I picked up their Super Strat used. It's amazing. Great sustain for a bolt-on. Nice. Yeah, actually, the Mitchell guitars are pretty good too. If you gotta like the neck profiles on them. The don't. Some of the necks on them are a little fatter than than a lot of people might like. That's the only thing. Jack Roses says, hang on, I lost it. Says, what do you think of the heavy metal start? Heavy metal. I think that's probably a typo. You're probably referring to the Fender HM Strat. Yeah, those are cool guitars, man. I think it's good that Fender reissued them. Even if I wish they hadn't done it on a limited, as a limited run. I kind of wish they'd make it a permanent thing, because the original HM Strats from the '80s. I'm kind of pissed that Fender brought them back out, because You know, when they reissued them, even the limited edition ones that just came out earlier this year, all the ones that were on the used market skyrocketed in value. So, you know, I don't know that they'll stay that you know that they'll stay like that, especially with this recession that just hit. But pardon me. Yeah, no, they're cool. They're real cool. I remember seeing them hanging on the wall, brand new, and you know, in my in Carmel Music Center, where I took guitar lessons as a kid, and they you know they had a couple of HM Strats hanging on the wall, and they were pretty cool. I remember they just had this weird Strat logo on the headstock, and that was all they had. But you know they seemed to be a little bit more right up my alley. I didn't know enough about guitars at the time to know what they were, but hmm. How do you keep the bridge level? Okay, your Gargoyles 84 says, how do you keep the bridge level with the body when the strings are removed? Well, it's good that you know the bridge needs to be level with the body. A lot of people don't know that, but they're just starting out. That's the, you know, just find, you know, real small adjustments to the springs on the back of the guitar. If you got it tuned up to where it needs to be, to, you know, to the tuning that you want, and the bridge is still sitting up in the air, that means you probably need to tighten the springs in the back a little bit to bring the bridge back down, and obviously the opposite if it's sitting the other direction. You know, the strings are going this way. So, you know, if you can't get the bridge to sit level in the tuning that you want it in, that means the tension is not correct on the backside of the guitar. And if you know if you're going like really heavy strings or something, you know, you may need to add a spring as well to add more tension that you know than the 2 or 3 that it may currently have. So. Mm, Christopher Morrow says, hey Robert, turn your mic level up a bit, it's terribly low. Is that the case? Can you guys hear me okay, or do I need to turn up the gain? I can, but I mean, as I'm looking at it right now, I mean, it's like right in the green. I'm afraid if I turn it up any more, it's going to start clipping. Because this is actually a pretty hot mic. Mm, oh, no, Patrick Emery says I was referring to you referencing having to ban a long-time subscriber. Yeah, yeah, from what I was referring to earlier. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that dude was a long time subscriber, but I assume he was a subscriber anyway because my subscriber numbers went down by 1 as soon as I hit block button. mm, mm, where did we go? Hey, we're 1 hour exactly. There's still 30 of you hanging in here. Christopher Morrow says, my wife bet me that you wouldn't say hello to me. I told her she was wrong. Hello, Christopher Morrow. You win. What is this? Oh, cousin. Her birthday today. Nathan Denton says, hi Robert, on the Waza Crap Metal Zone, which mode you preferring the most, the new standard or the custom? The custom mode definitely. The new standard mode's pretty cool. I mean, yeah, it definitely has that Metal Zone flavor to it. All settings. I mean, you can tell it's the standard mode. You can tell it's a Metal Zone with high-end components, which is exactly what it's supposed to be. But honestly, the custom mode sounds more like a high gain amp to me than it does a distortion pedal. So between the two, I like the custom mode, but the standard mode is still pretty cool. Hey, Bob Bitchins here. Says, hey Robert, how you doing, brother? I'm doing pretty good. No complaints. Staying safe as best I can anyway. Just like the rest of the world. So, Park Kingery says opinion on early '90s Gibson 3 pickup SGs. Uh, I don't know about the 3 pickup SGs, but most of the early '90s Gibsons, the world's kind of starting to, all the '90s Gibsons actually, I think the world's kind of starting to wake up to them, and they're suddenly starting to gain some steam and popularity. I mean, they're actually pretty well made, pretty good guitars out there on the used market. So, let's see, Ronnie Webster, thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. He says, I found a good deal on Agile 7 string loaded with a DiMarzio Titan. I cannot wait to melt faces. Those are cool, man. Yeah, they do make some pretty cool 7 string guitars. If you like 7 strings. Yeah, the Wolf guitars. He also let me read this comment so everybody knows what I'm talking to. You've left here a few of them in a row. So speaking of bang for your buck guitars, Wolf knocked my socks off with their Les Paul style model, $440, easily the most comfortable and best sounding guitar I have. I could shake Guitar Max's hand for his reviews on those Wolf guitars. Yeah, I keep meaning to get my hands on one of those as well. I don't have a. Thank you, Patrick. I don't have the means to go in and buy one of every affordable bang for your buck guitar that's out there. So I might hopefully be able to one of these days. But speaking of Guitar Max, I just discovered his channel actually probably January or so, and I've been watching a lot of his videos, and I mean, he and I actually we seem to have really similar tastes. So I don't know if he's financing, if he's like me and he's financing all all the demos out of his own pocket, or if those companies are sending them to him. But yeah, great. He's a great guitar player. Seems like a really real smart, intelligent, real intelligent guy. Knows what he's talking about. So cool guy. Cool channel. I like Guitar Max. I've grown to like his channel quite a bit. Patrick Emery says towards some vape juice. Wreck Alien Piss series. Okay. I'll have to check that out. Let's see. At the guitar. Okay, you guys are just talking amongst yourselves. Matt Maruzek says, why is speaker cab wiring so confusing? It's not that the speaker cab wiring is confusing. It's that Ohm's law is confusing. And, in other words, everything is backwards. So 4 ohms is actually more resistance than, I'm sorry, 4 ohms is higher resistance than, no, see, that's not right either. 8 ohms is higher resistance than 4 ohms, but 4 ohms is like, 8 ohms plus 8 ohms equals 4 ohms. So, if that makes sense. So like like I said, everything's backwards. So 16 plus 16 is 8. 8 plus 8 is 4, and on down the line. So yes, it can get very, very confusing. Then when you're talking about speaker cabs, then when you go throwing in variables like like series wiring and parallel wiring and stuff, you're right. Then it can get pretty confusing in a hurry. So like my my big Seismic Audio 212 cab actually has, what do I got in there? I think that one's got two 16 ohm speakers because we wired it stereo to make it 8 ohms because that's what most of my amp heads, the ones that I would run into that, are going, what the speaker outs on would be. So, but yeah, it was confusing figuring that out because, we couldn't just, go off of the speakers that I was replacing because those were wired in there in series. I think those were a pair of 8 ohm speakers that were wired in there in series to make it 16 ohms. Patrick Emery says, it's amazing to me how the Japanese guitars of the 80s were considered cheap. Now they go for $1,000 now on the used. Yeah. Yep, they sure are. Like I said, the world has woken up to a lot of stuff, and maybe realize maybe back in the 80s and 80s and 90s we didn't have it quite so bad as we thought we did. Because, like you said, now all this brand new made in Japan, brand new guitar made in Japan is $1,500, $2,000 now. I'm fortunate to own several Japanese made guitars. Like my Kramer Focus is made in Japan. My Charwell Model 5 is made in Japan. I think there's probably a few others in there that I'm just not recalling off the top of my head. But yeah, both of those guitars are worth a lot more now than they were when I got a hold of them. Alrighty. Am I just about caught up here? Honestly, I don't know. Maybe up 1 dB. You gotta tell me turn it up just a hair. Alright. We're at minus 7.2. Now we're at minus 6.1 of 1.1 dB. See if that helps any. Let's see. Robert, I love your Marshall amp and your videos of the one in your background. I love that amp. That that JCM 900. It's not the most collectible Marshall in the world, but I've always loved the 900. They've always been my favorites. And yeah, that was one I saved my money for a long time, and finally the right deal came my way, and sure enough, when I got it, it was actually happened to be one of the real early ones. They're actually a little harder to find, so I kind of got lucky in that regard, even though it does sound a little bit different from the 5881 models. But nope, I love that amp quite a bit. That one's not going anywhere. Christopher Lazat says, what is your opinion on Kiesel guitars? Great made guitars, man. They're great guitars. Matter of fact, a good friend of mine, John Suki, is a Kiesel endorser. And, he was prior to that, he was a Music Man guy. And, nothing but a Music Man guy really. So he's one of those guys that was really, really picky about welding guitars. He got, John is, he's the guitar player, one of Chase Rice's guitar player, who's a country act out of Nashville. So John plays with Chase Rice, and, when he got the, when he got the deal with Kiesel, he's been real happy with him. He loves them. So, Jeff Kiesel has earned them some pretty bad press here lately, you know, with, putting one of his customers on blast the way that he did. That wasn't cool. Uh, I mean, there's some things about Jeff's personality. And I don't know him. I've never met him. I've never interacted with him directly. There's some things about him that that kind of strike me as, he's just a guy that calls it like he sees it, and he's not afraid to call people out on bullshit. And then there's other things that when he goes and does stuff like putting his own customers on, longtime customers on blast because they made a mistake. Um, that ain't cool. So, he's got a pretty volatile reputation. Pretty dynamic. He's kind of a dynamic personality type of guy. But regardless, he and his dad make really, really cool guitars. So, I've always wanted, was the Carvin was the DC 600 or something like that. I think it's the model number. It's like they're, one of their super strat, like production line super strat models. Great guitars. Decky69 says, I wish used Ricky 4001s would come down in price. I can't believe how much they are. The reason why is because they are, Rickenbacker's, Rickenbacker actually schedules their production. They're making this model guitar or bass in their shop from this date to this date. And then they're making, on the next block of dates, they're making this model. On the next block of dates, they're making this model. And so this first model that they started here with this first block of dates, they made X number of guitars between, date, the start date and the end date. And once they're done, that end date hits and they're moving on to the next model, they're not coming back to this model for 6 months at least. And, and that 6 month rule, can vary quite a bit. It can vary some depending on the model. I mean, I'm sure there's some that they make more often than others. The 4001s, they probably build more of those than they do some of the, some of the less desirable models. But, pardon me. But yeah, that's how Rickenbacker works. And I know that because I sell Rickenbackers all the time, but it's a 50-50 shot whether or not they're going to be available. And if they're not available, it's I tell customers all the time. I said, it's not available. It's going to go on back order, and it's going to look like this back order date is being pushed back and pushed back and pushed back. Realistically, we're probably going to be waiting 6 months to a year for it. That's just Rickenbacker. So they make, and that seems to work for them. I really like Rickenbackers. I think they're very, very high quality. They're as well made as any other guitar out there. From a dealer perspective, dealing with the company itself has not always been real pleasant. They can be tough, but they've got some real screwy rules that do not necessarily benefit the retailer, but they do make some great guitars. Decky69 says, sorry RDG or GD for hijacking your chat. That's not my chat, that's your chat. So no, you didn't hijack anything, man. Jack Rosa says, hey Robert, I got the picker's grip. It does not work. My wife does not work. My wife still picks on me. I think you're using it wrong, dude. Sweet Freak is here. Says, hello, Robert. This is the first time I've been on one of your live streams. Thank you for coming and hanging out with us here for a little bit. There's, yeah, honestly, this, not nothing too crazy or too special going on. It's really just, just a bunch of people hanging out talking about guitar gear. Not much different from any, what you see in most of my other videos on my YouTube channel. So, but glad you're here. Patrick Emery says, the scary thing is the quality control of some of the Chinese guitars is up there with Japan and U.S. Here's how it seems to work, because, like, you were talking about how everybody thought Japanese guitars in the 80s and 90s were cheap. Whether or not everybody thought that, I think, is debatable, but, that seems to be a much more popular opinion about Japanese guitars made in the 60s. If you fast forward to about the late 90s, early 2000s, when a lot of companies started going to Indonesia, and you remember those guitars were all total garbage, and now Ibanez is making some of their nicer models in their factory in Indonesia. So, when factories in a new country, factories go to a new country, it seems to take that country a decade or two to figure out, how to build them and how to build them right and how to build them well. It took Japan a while, but now all of a sudden, like, the 60 Japanese-made guitars are regarded as garbage, like the old Taikos and stuff. But anything like, as we talked about, pardon me, as we talked about earlier, the guitars made in Japan now sell brand new for $1,500, $2,000 and are, worth every penny. They're made that well. High-end brands are more than that. Like all the comparison guitars are all made in Japan. Those things are $3,000. And they're not the only company like that. So, Ibanez has plenty of $3,000, $4,000, $3,000, $4,000, and $5,000 guitars made in Japan. But there are countries, like Indonesia's getting good at it now, and China's getting good at it now too. They've been building guitars for a while now, and I first saw it with the Charvel Desolation series, like the one that I have. That guitar is made in China, and I still couldn't believe how well made that guitar is, and all the features that the top-notch appointments and stuff that were on it. I've played that guitar quite a bit since I got it, and I've had it 4 or 5 years now. Yeah, so, China's getting good at building guitars. Indonesia's getting good at building guitars. Mexico, of course, has been good at building them for a while now. And they're not just building Fenders. They're building Martins, they're building Taylors, and, they've got it figured out. So, next thing we'll probably see the India, in another, 10 years or so down the line. India and Vietnam and those countries are suddenly building, pretty nice guitars. But to the vintage, like the high-end collector market and the vintage collector market, those, anything not USA or Japan or Europe somewhere is going to be viewed as, as cheap import crap by those people. So I don't know that that'll ever change. Kobe said, got a 200 watt head that has a 4 ohm and an 8 ohm input. Is it advisable to run both simultaneously to the appropriate cadence? I don't know. I've never tried it. Typically the way that, the traditional way to do it is, is to go out from the head into one cabinet, then out from another cabinet into the second cabinet. That's the traditional way to do it if you're, keeping everything the same resistance. So, we're like running one 4 ohm cab and one 8 ohm cab. It seems like it would probably be okay, but the truth is I've never tried it, and I'm not an amp tech. Call your local amp tech and ask them that question. So, I'll be, to be perfectly honest, I'm not sure I know the answer to it. I can only guess. Paul Fuchs is here. Says, Robert, is PV going to survive COVID? Yeah, they'll be fine. PV is a pretty big company. Matter of fact, I just emailed a buddy of mine at PV the other day, and they're not back in the office yet. They're going through, they're experiencing the same craziness everybody else is. But yeah, they'll be fine. I mean, they're still selling amps, so they're still selling amps. They're still, my understanding is they're coming out with a new line of Wolfgang guitars. Although, obviously they're not going to be called Wolfgangs anymore, but so they're supposed to be coming out with a new line of Wolf, whatever they're calling it, 6505 guitars, I guess. They're coming out with a new line of those, and at least that's been the plan. And I mean, as many people are stuck at home. If you're not aware of this right now, recording gear and like bedroom studio, home studio gear is the toilet paper of the MI industry right now. I mean, it's selling out everywhere, and you can't find what you're looking for. I mean, it's not. I mean, you can't just get online and go buy a. You can't just get online and go buy a 2i2 right now if you feel like it for $150. Because they're just sold out all over the damn place. So, and that includes PV. They've got, PV make, they make a ton of practice, like the Vipers and stuff like that. Those are selling like crazy. So, they're I don't know, they're not selling. They're probably not selling a ton of Invective heads and stuff like that right now, but the higher end stuff. But they're still selling amps, and they'll be fine. They'll be fine. Jeff Kiesel's like President Camacho from Idiocracy. He seems cool, but has no filter. Yeah, that's pretty good description of him. You're right. You're right. He doesn't seem that much of a filter. Bob Bitchin says the Carvin 100 heads are great sounding amps, clean, crunch, and tons of overdrive. Yep. Matter of fact, I've got a video coming up here. You guys haven't seen it yet. I think it launches in like another week or two. I think. Something like that. You guys will see it. And anyway, but there's discussion of a few different Carvin amps in that video. So I don't want to spoil it, but I don't know. I'm hoping it's a video that you guys enjoy. So it was one that I had fun doing. So. Matt Marizek, hang on, Matt Marizek says, how exactly does back order work? I ordered a new speaker from a musician friend for a cab 2 months ago. It hasn't shown up yet. I'm trying to decide if I need to find one elsewhere or not. Basically, it's, musician's friend can't ship it to you because they don't have it in stock. And the reason why they don't have it in stock is because they haven't received any more from Warehouse Guitar Speakers yet. So, meaning that they likely have PO in with Warehouse Guitar Speakers, and they're waiting on more to arrive. But here's the thing about back order dates that as somebody that works in the MI industry, that this is it boggles my mind how often we get blamed for it, and the dealers and the retailers have no control over it. Okay. The only thing that the retailers can do is build the PO and send the order of how many veteran 30s, how many ET65s, and how many Reaper, the Reaper model, whatever that one's called, whatever it is, how many of each of those speakers that they need or that they want to order from Warehouse Guitar Speakers in order to replenish their stock. Some of it is going to be, part of that is taking into consideration any current back orders, i.e. customers that need them, how many of those they currently have, plus an estimate of however many they expect to sell over the next whatever the time frame is, they plan on sending them the next PO. And, you know, those parameters are going to change quite a bit from one vendor to the next, obviously. You know, Warehouse Guitar Speakers is not going to be getting the same size POs from Musician's Friend that Fender is, for example. You know, so from there, Warehouse Guitar Speakers receives the PO, and, you know, if they, you know, all these vendors have, you know, they've got their factories, and some of them are in the U.S., some of them are overseas somewhere, you know, regardless. But then they also have their, you know, their own separate distribution, their own warehouse where they store everything. So from there, it's a matter of, do we have this, you know, do we have the speakers that Musician's Friend is looking for? If we have them, great. Then, you know, a lot of times what they'll do is they'll wait until they have everything that's on the order from Musician's Friend together, and then ship it out all at once. And sometimes if they have it in stock, if they, you know, if they have it in stock, great. If they don't, then they got to build it, or they got to wait for their factories overseas to build it. You know, and then in which case there's another delay, because all that stuff comes over on a container ship on a boat. You know, which, you know, that's several weeks. So, you know, there's a lot of factors involved, and, you know, all that stuff is relayed to the retailer as best as can be estimated. But, you know, especially right now with this, you know, with this pandemic thing going on all over the world, you know, which is putting everything to a, you know, to a screeching halt. You know, it's, you know, literally, you know, there's no, you know, absolutely nothing that the retailer can do to speed things up, because there are so many other moving parts between, you know, between the vendor and the retailer. So, you know, there's nothing that the retailer can do to speed things up. You know, the only thing they can do is hurry up and wait. So it's, you know, and sometimes those, you know, those delays are out of the, you know, are out of control of the, you know, the vendor as well. So, you know, everybody loves to blame the retailers for their, you know, for their, you know, whatever, their item that they're waiting, their back order item they're waiting on for not being in stock and not showing up. But, you know, you tell me, you know, if I'm the retailer, you tell me what I'm supposed to do to speed it up to get it there, so you can, you know, so it gets to you faster. Japan-made guitar is great. I have a Schecter Blackjack ATX from Nathan Denton. Says, Japan-made guitar is great. I have a Schecter Blackjack ATX I've had for over 10 years, made in South Korea, and one of my best guitars. Excellent quality. Most of the Schecter stuff is actually made in South Korea. My Blackjack, I've got an SLS Blackjack that's also South Korean. Where's this one? I think this one's China. Nope, this one's Indonesia. So my Blackjack is Korea, my CR6 is Indonesia. But they're both, you know, that's one thing I love about Schecter. Pardon me. Christopher Morrow says, hey Robert, have you had a chance to try out one of the Monoprice tube amps, like the 5 watt? And from what I understand, it's a pretty good clone of a Fender Champ. Never played a Champ though. I have not. I've seen a lot of other channels that are plugging those pretty hard right now. I think, you know, I know Guitar Max has done, you know, has demoed one or two of them, as well as Daryl, I can't believe I've forgotten Daryl's last name. Daryl Braun. Daryl Braun's demoed a couple of them. So, pardon me. You know, both of those guys are plenty experienced and know what they're talking about. So, you know, they both have had some pretty good things to say about it. I have not personally tried them yet. So I'm kind of holding off on any major gear purchases for right now. You know, because, you know, I have a back-ordered guitar that I'm still waiting on. That you know, that one's gonna hit my credit card here in the next Theoretically, it's expected to, ship out here in the next week or so. If that's accurate, I don't know if it will be or not, given everything that's going on. But assuming that it does, I don't want too big, more than that one big charge hitting my card. I mean, I've got the credit limit for it. I don't want to be paying off that much at the same time. So. Leonard Zabitsky says, "Hi Robert, I just purchased a Xavier Candy Apple Red Telly and it looks fantastic. Your thoughts on Xavier and Slick guitars?" Those are the Guitar Fetish brands. I've not seen the Slick guitars. I know that they make like the Slick guitar straps and pedals and stuff, and I've not seen any of the guitars yet. I remember seeing the Xaviers when they first started coming out, and they were seemed to be right in line with a lot of those other companies I was talking about earlier, like SX and vintage, the brand vintage guitars and, the Harley Bentons and stuff like that. They seem to be right in line with all those stuff. It wouldn't surprise me if all those things were actually made in the same factory, to be honest. But at any rate, they seem to be good bangs for your buck. The Firefly guitars are right up there in there. Those things getting all kinds of reviews, but they sell out on Amazon every time they hit. Ronnie Webster says, "Hey Robert, are you still waiting on your Chapman baritone to arrive?" Yes, that is the one I'm waiting on. That is the one still on back order. Here's 3200. Matt Merzik says, "Do they tell you if it's back ordered?" Yeah, of course they do. They have to tell you that. Depending on which website you're ordering on, like Guitar Center and Musician's Friend, their websites always say in stock and ready to ship. And sometimes that's not always real accurate either, but generally speaking, that's the case. If it says order now or back ordered until such and such date, that's the case. Like with Sweetwater, Sweetwater's website will say something to the effect of, we don't have it, but we can get it, or something like that. So, meaning it's, they have it on back order. So, when in doubt, here's a tip for you. When in doubt, if you're looking on the website, and you're not sure, pick up the phone and call the retailer. Talk to somebody directly. Have them dig around in the system somewhere and find out. With Guitar Center especially, one thing that a lot of people don't know, and this, this is one thing I really wish that they could fix. Is a lot of times when it says in stock and ready to ship, there's one or two out, because all the Guitar Center's inventory includes their central warehouse and what's in their stores. So, collectively, it may be in stock somewhere, but it could be a floor model that's been hanging on the wall for, who knows how long. What a lot of most stores are pretty good about in that instance is, if that's the one that's being sourced because it's the only one out there, most of them are pretty good about contacting the customers and saying, hey, this is what it is. I want you to know, the condition it's in before we send it out to you. Are you okay with this? And if the customer says yes, they box it up and ship it out. And, if the customer says no, then they cancel the order. So, but like I said, when in doubt, pick up the phone and talk to somebody, man. Talk to a human that knows their way around the back end of the systems like that and can answer that question for you accurately. The internet is... Websites are not always correct, especially in this industry. Neiman says, I hope I pronounced that right. Says, is it me or is used gear is more expensive now? Yeah, it's supply and demand, dude. You know, with new gear, especially if it's a used something that is if it's a used model, used piece of something still being made, and the new ones are unavailable. Uh, yeah, it's unfortunate. It drives me crazy, but basically it's supply and demand, and a lot of it's just price gouging because of supply and demand. If you can't get a hold of a new Fender Player Strat made in Mexico because they're sold out everywhere, all of a sudden people start selling their used ones for more than what they would normally be worth, and people are getting them. You know, I had to talk somebody out of buying one. It was a used player Strat that somebody was, the guitar's brand new or $6.99. Somebody was selling a used one for $5.99, which to me is way overpriced. Especially for the, it wasn't in bad shape, but I mean it was far from, looking like it just came out of the box. So yeah, you got people price gouging right now. So. But there's some things out there that is always the case with, like the King of Tone pedals. If you're not aware, the Analog Man King of Tone pedal is a very, very highly sought after overdrive pedal, and they are still made. However, if the waiting list to get one brand new is about 18 months right now, and the reason why is because there's a couple of components in there that have to be within a very, very specific resistance, I believe. So there's some certain specs that a specific component on the inside has to meet, and to find the ones that actually, they may order a box of 500 of them and find 50 of them that are actually inside that particular spec range that they're looking for. So, for that reason, they it's about a year and a half wait time to buy one brand new, and even new, that pedal's like $300, $350, something like that. Used ones bring about between 4 and 500, pretty consistently, because you either pay more for a used one that you can get right now, or you can get in line and wait a year and a half for a new one. So, that's why the used ones bring so much more. But you hardly ever see them pop up used anyway. So yeah, Decky 59 just bought a Randall RD5H. Good choice. I love my RD20. Love that head. Matt Maruzik says, damn, I knew that deal in that speaker was too good to be true. I'm curious to know what deal it is that you're talking about. If it's a musician's friend, whatever. Warehouse guitar speakers are $80 or $100 or so. So, unless you got one on sale, that doesn't, if it was a sale price, it wasn't on sale because it was on back order. It probably went on back order because there was a good deal on it. So, again, that's not the retailer's fault. Park King says, I thought of making one of those King of Tone pedals. I don't know that, my understanding is they're actually difficult to clone for the same reason that Analog Man can only make so much of them at a time, because they just, that particular capacitor or whatever that, the chip component or whatever it is that's in there, that they're looking for is so hard to find, and the right resistance to get the sound that they're looking for. They do make the Prince of Tone, which is a pretty close, kind of sort of close model that is similar. It's cheaper, but sounds close anyway. That's designed to be more of a production model we can make more of. Neiman says, yeah, I always check out reverb prices every now and then. Stuff in general is going on. I hate buying off. I mean, I've got my own issues with reverb anyway, but people selling on reverb, I don't know what it is about reverb, man, but everybody that sells their gear on reverb, they all think it's gold. Everybody on reverb thinks their used gear is gold, and there's so many things out there that I see people, the prices I see people asking for. I've sold on reverb before, and I had to, the Vestor guitar that I was selling, that I had for sale. I did everything I could to avoid having to use reverb. Finally, I had to list it just to get it gone, and and it moved. It sold, and I got the price that I wanted for it. Finally found somebody that actually knew what that guitar was. But I very rarely buy gear off of reverb just because usually whoever's selling it is asking way more than it's worth. Decky69 says, I hope with the popularity of home recording and the increase in new and used gear prices will trigger a resurgence in rock metal music like the early mid-90s. It's possible. I guess, there's a lot of people buying recording gear right now. A lot of people buying recording gear. So, it is very, very possible. Now, of course, it all kind of, remains to be seen. Yeah, I don't know. I've noticed a lot of YouTube channels and a lot of podcasts being launched right now. So, yeah. Oh, where are we at? Coming up on an hour 45. Alrighty. I've managed to get caught up with everything, so I think I got all your questions answered and stuff. So, everybody that took the time to come hang out with me here for a little bit this afternoon, thank you for doing so. I've kind of gotten to enjoy doing this again now that I figured out how to get my camera and stuff. I still got to figure out how to make it not quite so bright to where I'd like to be able to have the window open behind me, but that's a problem for another day. At any rate, I've now that my camera quality is a little bit better for these live streams, now that thanks to this thing, yeah, it's kind of gotten to be a little bit more fun for me. So I'm glad to you guys have come to hang out for a little bit. Oh, here, one more question. Paul Von Tyron says, hey, Robert, have you heard or tried any amps and blades amplification? I've seen a couple of them, and they look really, really cool. I even reached out to them and, and asked them if they would be willing to let me demo one of their amps, but I need to follow up with them, as a matter of fact. Yeah, never. I've not heard back. I sent them a link to my channel, and that was the last I heard. So either they saw some of my videos, and hopefully, I may have seen like the older. Hopefully, they didn't see the Mark 535 video, because that one's terrible. But they may have seen some of my videos and decided that I suck and my channel sucks and they don't want to be associated with me at all, or maybe they just got busy. I don't know. But yeah, I've seen them, and I really want to get my hands on one. I'm trying. I don't know if it'll happen though. So, yeah. All right, guys. Everybody be safe, and keep your eyes peeled for a video tomorrow morning, and audio. See you later. Bye.